Hi, and welcome to the Avid Knits podcast. My name is Sarah, and I'm going to be your host today. Today is Wednesday, April 24th, and it is pretty gray here in Houston today. I'm really surprised I'm getting the light that I'm getting because the lamps are on in the rest of my house. I would say probably between 9 and 11 windows in my main room, a pretty open concept front end of my house, and the lights are still on. So we're still using lamps. That's pretty abnormal, but that's okay. I personally really love a gray day. I think it's great. I'm sure that there are other people in this state who are sick of it. We've had a pretty wet winter. It's been wonderful. Anyway, so you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry, YouTube, all the places, all the things as Avid Knits. And yeah, welcome to the podcast. If you're new, thanks for checking it out. I hope you stick around. But if you don't, that's okay. There are a million podcasts. I absolutely understand that. If you're returning to this madness, why? I'm really glad to see you. It's wonderful to see you guys. Yeah, so I have a bunch of life stuff to catch you guys up on, but I'm going to do that at the end for people who aren't really here for that. So we're going to stick with just knitting today. If you're new, I do crochet too, and I have my best friend in Portland does macrame, and I'm going to go visit here pretty soon, so she keeps promising to convert me, so I might start doing that too. That'll be fun. But as of right now, I really mainly knit just because I really like garments. So it's very knitting heavy around here, but there is crochet. So yeah, if you're not a knitter, I hope that you'll stick around too, or that we can, you can tell me some of the stuff you're working on, and maybe my crochet game can get a little bit stronger. So what I am wearing my painting sweater by Katrin Schneider, and I've talked about this sweater at length. This is my absolute favorite sweater. This is my chuck on over everything sweater, and we're very humid here in Houston, and so you end up with this really ugly medium between, it's hot outside, but in order to get rid of the humidity in your house, your air conditioner is so cold. Sweaters are a good thing. And yeah, so that's kind of why I'm wearing it today. It's pretty gray. It's cooler than it has been, but it's very humid, and my air conditioner is doing its level best, but I get cold every now and then, so I chucked it on and thought we would podcast today, since it doesn't look like we're going to be doing much else because it's been raining on and off all day. Let's see. I knit this out of Manos del Uruguay. It is in the Alegria base, which is a fingering weight base in the color No Book, which is Spanish for suede. I believe it's Spanish for suede. It's a wonderful yarn. It's a great workhorse yarn. I did knit this 3/4 sleeves, and when it was done, it was 3/4 sleeves. After I wear it for a long time, they stretch out. And I did just recently wash and block this, and normally I toss it in the dryer for 10 or 15 minutes to cinch everything back up to where it belongs. I've said before that I will probably knit another one of these, and when I do, I will make sure that my sleeves are shorter, or that I pick a yarn that grows a little bit less. Other than that, it's a wonderful yarn, and it barely pills, and I wear it all the time. So I really highly recommend it. This week I only have one finished object, you guys. For 2 weeks off, you would think that I would have more. I did take last week off. My husband was changing companies and was able to squeeze a little vacation in there. My husband's one of my favorite people in the world, and when he's off, that's what I want to do. I just want to be with him. And so we really kind of didn't do much. But like I said, I'll talk about that at the end, but that was why there wasn't a podcast last week. I made no noticeable progress on anything, and since I have 4 sweaters on the needles right now, that was really disheartening. It just was terrible to look around at myself, at my stuff, and say I've made no progress that I can talk about. I really need to get cracking. I have plenty of time. I'm fine. So my finished object, though, is my Must Stash socks. This is Must Stash yarn in the Kama colorway. It was at one point called Kama Sutra. I don't know if that has changed or what, but it's just Kama on the label. It is a sport weight yarn, which I wasn't really aware of whenever I bought it. It's fine. I actually really enjoy sport weight socks. I think they're really great, and they're highly underrated. I made a comment about thinking it was a 16 stripe and not thinking I would get through all 16 because I made ankles, and I lied to you. It is an 18 stripe yarn, and I made it through. If I had not done contrasting toes, I probably would have hit all of the colors. I did cut out 3 colors. So I don't know if you'll remember, but last episode I talked about there was a really bright red, a bright yellow, and a brown next to each other. And so it kind of reminded me of like ketchup and mustard on a plate. And I personally didn't feel like they really flowed very well because they were right after this these mauves and this orchid color. I didn't really like where it landed. Because it was right before the pink color, in between the green and the pink. And I didn't care for the way that landed. I thought going from this spring green to that bright tomato red was just really jarring. I didn't care for it. I cut it out. No big deal. My contrast colors are Dream in Color. It is a purple from a Prince tribute set that she did. It is 100% superwash. There is no nylon. I'm hoping that doesn't come back to bite me because I just patched a pair of socks that I did a garter German short row heel and it wore a hole in it already. So I'm hoping that because this is knit on a tighter gauge and that I did the heel flap gusset that the yarn will hold up a little bit better. I'm going to find those socks. Hold on. They were right in front of me because of course they were. So these are the socks that I patched. I would be lying to you if I told you I knew who this was. I really don't. No, I don't. And I don't remember the colorway name, and that's terrible. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I did ankles. They're a hack off of kind of a Rose City roller. All of my ankle socks are, if you're new, all of my socks are Rose City rollers, or they use the counts for them, or they're very tiny variations off of that. So my variation on this was a 4x1 rib across the top of the foot. And then whenever I originally made these, the cuff was actually right here. So all of this was green, and it came up really high on my foot, and I literally never wore them. I didn't enjoy them at all. So I resolved 6 months ago to cut them back and just move the cuff down or pick back up and cut and then re-knit the cuff or something. And I never did it, and I finally got around to it. So I finally did that, and I moved my cuff down, and I'm much happier with it. You can see, I'm hoping you can see, that my gauge is kind of loose on my heels. Can you see that? Yeah, I'm sure you can. And I did a garter stitch German short row heel. Mina Phillip from Knitting Expat uses this heel a lot, and I like the way that hers look. It's pretty squishy. I kind of enjoyed it, but mine did fray through right here, so I went ahead and patched that. Like I said, this doesn't have any nylon in it, so that could just be all it was. It could also be that we had tile floor in our old house. It was like that faux wood grain look ceramic tile or whatever. It was really pretty. But I don't know, maybe that was it, or I don't know. We have carpet now, so I would think that maybe the friction on your socks would make it where you would have more holes here, but I haven't had any issues yet, so. I also am that really crappy person. I wear my socks outside. I don't go to the mailbox or anything, okay? But in this house in my house now, our front porch is brick. So it's just like a little extension and it has an overhang, and I don't know, you're supposed to put rocking chairs out there, but it's not really deep enough. It's really pretty. But it's kind of a southern thing. And then my back one has almost like river flagstone, I guess, kind of. They're both pretty, well, the back one is smooth. This one is obviously, it's brick, so I'm sure that wearing my socks out there is absolutely horrible for them. But, you know, they're mine, and I'll patch them, and I don't care. Speaking of patching, I patched a pair of my husband's socks. So this is a Rose City roller with a cuff and a German short row heel. This is Madeline Tosh sock in the Whiskey Barrel colorway. And it's very pretty. It's got all these blues and some hints of brown, or browns with hints of blues. It's a very pretty yarn. It's held up really well. I have a pair of these as well, and I actually lost one of my socks for a really long time, and I finally found it this week, and I'm super excited to be able to put those back in my drawer. But my husband wore a hole in the bottom of his foot, and none of us are really sure how he did it. So I did patch that. This is my first patching job, or mending job on socks. I'm sure I didn't do it right. It's okay. The yarn that I used is Titus from Ba Ram U, so it is 100% wool. It will felt. I have not washed these yet, as you can tell with all the dog hair, and we fostered my brother-in-law's golden retriever for a little while, and I find long blonde hair everywhere. I have a black dog because we don't wear whites, and it blends in with everything a lot better. Oh my God, tangent. Anyway, you don't care. Anyway, whenever I wash these, I'm going to do a wash here pretty soon, and I got a swatch to wash and stuff like that. I have a Tuft Woolens bar, and I will just get some of that, and I will do friction on that and see if I can get this to close up. And if not, I'll throw it in the washer with some jeans. Whatever. The yarn is super wash. This is not, so that should close up really well for me. And if it doesn't, I'll cut it off and, I don't know, reknit in my foot, or I don't know. I don't have any of this yarn left, so I'm just making plans I'm not going to follow through on. Anyway, so those are my finished, my finished objects, I guess, things that I actually completed this week. So yeah, so works in progress. I am a sample knitter if you're new. And so I have two samples on the needles right now, and I need to cast a third one on. So my first sample is for Claire of Autumn and Indigo, and it is the Little Cabin Pullover by Caitlin Hunter. My body of my sweater's up here. So I finished the body, and so here it is with all its cute little baubles. Super fun, little lace on the bottom. It's this really pretty, like, wheat kind of colorway. She calls it aged bronze, and it's in a worsted. So that's making it go, it's making it really go really fast. So I finished the body, and then you're supposed to knit the sleeves separately and join and then knit up the yoke. So I'm almost there. I'm missing 2 or 3 inches on a sleeve here, so that's basically 2 or 3 baubles. So I'm going to finish those. They are absolutely tiny. The pattern says that your upper sleeve should be like 13.25 inches or something. Mine unblocked are not coming out to that. Mine are coming out to 11.5 maybe. I've got gauge. I did a gauge swatch. I wasn't going to. Told Claire I wasn't going to, but I did. And I got gauge with everything that I was doing because I was a little worried about the body because I ended up having to block it pretty aggressively in order to get it to come out to measurement. It's like, all right, well, my gauge must be off. Let me check before I do sleeves because those are always a little bit smaller. I have gauge, and it's coming out really small, which is really opposite for me. Usually if I get gauge, it tends to get looser because I guess I get, as the weight of the sweater pulls, I guess I get lazy in the middle of it or something. I don't focus as much, or I talk, and then my gauge is looser. So that was a little bit weird, but I did text her and I asked her to measure her upper arm for me, so it only has to be 11. And then her yarn blocks out really well, so I'm going to just block them sort of aggressively and write her a note that says, hey, if you wash this, please block it. Like you're going to have to really get at it. But yeah, so I wrote her that that's almost done. She's super excited. The other one that I have that's almost done is my Svensson, and that is the brown all-over cable sweater. My sleeves, I'm missing like 2 decreases to get on the shoulder shaping to be done with the sleeves. So I'm not going to show those. They're sleeves. I'm on Sleeve Island for everything right now. So yeah, so those are my two works. Or, my deadline knitting, my work projects. And then I have 2 personal whips. As we talked about it a couple episodes ago, I wanted to make the Ingalls sweater by Caitlin Hunter. This is not a Caitlin Hunter podcast, I promise. It just seems that way at the moment. It's going to go away. It's coming away like right now. I wanted to knit the Ingalls, but we live in a hot state, and DK sweaters are, I don't mind them. They're fine. But the Ingalls that she makes is 14 to 16 inches of positive ease. And it's wonderful if you can wear that, and that looks good on you. That's fantastic. Like, how nice to make that flattering, because it's not flattering on me. It's not. I look like I'm drowning. So I decided to adapt it to a fingering weight sweater, and that's gone. I've had mixed success with that. And I don't feel like I've had mixed success with that because of any adjustments that I did, but because of the yarn. I'm about to lay out a very unpopular opinion, and I hope that you don't just switch me off as soon as I say it. So, I finished the body this morning. I knit until like 2 o'clock this morning and was like 3/4 of the way through the ribbing and I'm just done with it. And then I woke up this morning and finished it and pounded off. So it hasn't been blocked or anything like that because I still need sleeves. So this is the body of my Ingles. So we go all the way up there. So it'll be kind of a little cropped kind of version. In one of my earlier episodes, I showed a pink sweater that I really like. That's kind of a crop and I really like the style. And so I want to kind of replicate a couple of tops like that I think I'll really enjoy wearing. So my yarns are, the main color here is Graphite by Hedgehog Fibers. It is a 90-10 merino nylon base. And then this pinky color right here is called Simper from Life in the Long Grass, and it is an 80-20, 75-20, anyway, you don't care. It's a fine sock, and it's absolutely beautiful, and I really love it. Unpopular opinion time, here we go. Y'all, I don't like Hedgehog Fibers. There, I said it. I really don't. Her colors are amazing. She does some really beautiful stuff. I have not had the unfortunate issues that some people have had with bleeding. I don't tend to buy super, super saturated colors or bright colors. I had no bleeding with the black, and I checked it. Okay, I'm lying to you. I have one skein of hot pink, and it bled like nobody's business. But I'm well aware that fluorescents and reds especially are really notorious. So that took forever. I think I probably spent like an hour trying to wash that thing out. It was horrid. But I haven't used that in this, obviously. The black did not bleed at all. It's been fine. I got gauge on a size 5. And then I knit about an inch of the body. And it was so holey and see-through that I went down to a 4. And I've measured and my gauge numbers have not changed. And it is, I know you can see this, it is so holey. And Hedgehog is not like, I don't know what's a whole yarn, like, Holst yarn, super soft. It has the spinning oil in it. I don't know if you watch, Ellie of Skein or Amy of the Stranded podcast, they talk a lot about this yarn and how it looks a lot like this, and then you wash it and it blooms and fills in all the holes. Well, Hedgehog does not do that. So, like, even my ribbing is super gapey. It's fine. It's a spring top or a layering piece. Like, it'll be fine. I'll deal with it this time. But I have to tell you, honestly, like, I don't expect that I will be a repeat customer for that. I've knit socks out of Hedgehog too, and her yarn just seems really thin to me. It's a really light fingering, I guess. It's beautiful. It's not my favorite. So I probably won't buy any more of it. But I have a sweater in it now, and so I'm glad that I tried it. And that's my unpopular opinion of the day. We welcome yours. So if you're a diehard Hedgehog fan, I'm not bad talking. If you're friends with Beata, please don't call her and tell her that, like, oh, there's this girl in Texas bad-mouthing your yarn, because I'm not. It's always personal preference, right? There are a million indie dyers, and some people are going to do things that you like more than others. And that's all it is. My other work in progress is actually, speaking of being indie dyers, I dyed this. So I have no aspirations of being an indie dyer, or I don't know, I just wanted to try it and see, what I thought of it, and I did, and I had a lot of fun, and it was really cool. It is not something I will make into a business. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of mess, and I don't have a separate space to dye in, and I wonder, these amazing for these dyers who can do it in their kitchens and just like clean up every day and not worry about that. That drives me nuts. I am a separate space kind of girl. My house is a good size, but it is lacking in the excess storage space, maybe. There's not a lot of wasted space in my house, which I really love personally, but it makes it a little bit harder when you bring in extra hobbies. What I need to do is get like one of those IKEA cubby shelf things for the wall behind you is relatively bare. It's long. A cubby would be really nice right there, and a basket filled with my dye stuff would be great. Don't have one of those yet, so I'm just kind of trying to shuffle it around so it's out of the way. Anyway, it's gonna be that day, you guys. Anyway, my husband was not making fun of me, was teasing me and was like, oh, all these pretty girl colors. They're all stuff that you're going to knit with and you're going to really like. Like, why don't you make me something? And I was like, okay, well, what do you want? And my son came right up. I was like, I want Bumblebee. So I did. I dyed a Transformers Bumblebee, sort of, themed yarn. So it's just this super bright banana yellow. Like, it's crazy. And it looks like a bee or the bumblebee. And so there's black and there's charcoal in there. And of course I asked him, I was like, all right, what do you want? And of course he wants socks, which I think is great because I love to knit socks for him. And so these are my socks. So obviously when I did this, I was like, I can do not self-striping, but I can figure out how to make it do like micro striping. That'll be pretty simple. I'll just put these colors in this order. No, I was wrong. Whenever I ended up with over 100 stitches on the needles, because I was doing my decreases for gusset, then I ended up with this really pretty micro stripe, right? But anytime that I just had 72 stitches on the needles, I'm getting a lot of flashing and a lot of pooling, which is fine. I don't care. And he really likes it. He just thinks it's cool. So I used some leftover Cascade Heritage for the cuff and the heel flap and the turn, and I will probably just knit these in the main color all the way down to the toe. So this is a Rose City roller. Like I said, they're all Rose City rollers. I just put a cuff on it. Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast and Stranded Dye Works is doing she calls it a roll along, and then somebody suggested the term roller derby for her knit along. So she is doing a knit along for Rose City Rollers by Mara Catherine Bryan, who is Orange Knits on Instagram. Any one of her patterns, so she says the Saturday Matinee socks, the Jelly Roll socks, the Pearl Cottage socks, I think. She has a bunch of ankle sock patterns, and any one of those can get you entered into Amy's knit along. So I would definitely go over there and check that out. I know it's on her Ravelry group for Stranded. And I'm really excited about that because those are my favorite socks to knit, and it's summer, so sock knitting is not going to be the primary focus, but we will go do stuff. And all of my nieces, my husband's entire family basically was born in the summer, so our summers are very busy with family functions, and socks are wonderful to take because they're super portable, right? I'm not a huge project bag fan, but just to throw that out there. So that's why I don't ever really talk about my bags. But they are living in my fringe supply. This is the Black Watch, Dark Watch. It's the tartan they came out with a couple of years ago. It's wax canvas, and I originally wasn't even going to buy a fringe bag. But my husband took me on a Christmas trip. We left my son with my in-laws, and he took me on a Christmas trip to North Carolina, and we went to the Black Mountain Yarn Shop, which is out in Asheville. They just moved. I don't think they're in Asheville anymore, but they're right down the road. It was his Christmas gift to me, so I really love my bag. I know that there's a lot of controversy kind of going around fringe right now. I know that Karen Templer was kind of the reason that a lot of the racism and inclusion conversations got really fired up, with her blog post that was a little insensitive, But people learn. Not everybody comes from the same place, so I know that her and her company have taken steps to kind of rectify some of their oversights with the community, and I'm really happy to see that. We're gonna get into, I have a couple of plans on my knitting, so we're gonna get into knitting plans for the future. Sorry. My brother-in-law is my husband's youngest brother, and he's 26 maybe-ish. He does hot shots, which means that he's basically a overland courier. Let's say oil industry, if there's somebody in Wyoming needs a section of downhole pipe, which are huge and they're very long, and they need it from Houston and they need it now, they would use hot shots. And so basically my brother would take his truck and his trailer, he would get this thing loaded on his trailer, and he would be the transport dude. So that's what he does for a living. And it's worked out really well for him. He had a really bad accident last month. I think I touched on it last podcast, and everything is fine. But he flipped his truck. And whenever he got out, he told my husband he actually got out, made sure everything was okay, and then he went back into his truck because he forgot his hat. So this is a hat that I knit him because he was making runs to Wyoming and stuff, and it was just so cold. And I knit him this out of Encore worsted, which is a wool and acrylic blend. Unfortunately, his windshield shattered, and it has glass inside of the inside of the stitches, and I don't know how to get that out. If anybody has any tips on any way that I could get little tiny shards of glass out from in between the fibers, I would be really anxious to hear about it, because I would really like to not have to throw this away. I honestly don't see any foreseeable or conceivable way of doing that, so this might turn into like, I don't know, a plant pot liner or something. I don't remember how much acrylic it has in it. I'll check. But the wool itself is biodegradable, so I'll look into it and find out what I can do with it. He needs a new hat. So I was going to make it out of this, which is Encore DK, but I don't think I'm going to have quite enough yardage because this is a DK and that's a worsted. So I will probably make it out of Barocco Vintage, which is also a acrylic wool blend. This is a 52% acrylic, 40% wool, 8% nylon blend. I really like it for hats. It's really hard wearing, and it's washable. It doesn't get any better than that, right? So that's going to be just a really plain ribbed hat for him. And other than that, I have a plan to cast on a lounging top by Joji Locatelli, and we've talked about this before. I'm going to make it out of Life in the Long Grass in the Cantaloupe colorway. This is my swatch. I did get gauge on a 3, on a size 3. I think it calls for a size 4 needle, but I generally tend to be a little bit loose, like we've talked about, in the middle of stuff, and I like the fabric that I'm getting. I still need to wash and block this, so I'm pretty sure I'll stick with a 3. And I don't have any experience making a non-sweater garment, really. So I was thinking that since it's summer coming up in the Northern Hemisphere, I would really like to do a knit along, and I would really like if somebody would knit with me, because that would be a lot of fun. I do realize that kind of excludes my friends down in the Southern Hemisphere. I have a lot of friends in the Southern Hemisphere, maybe not a lot of followers, but a lot of friends, and I don't want to exclude them. So I'm going to say a garment with elbow or shorter sleeves in a yarn between lace weight and DK. And so we'll call it, I'm going to call it the summer top knit along. That's what I'm going to call it, because I think that the majority of the people who will participate in this are going to be making summer tops. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you want to make a light layering piece for yourself out of like a fingering weight sweater that you're going to cut off, 3/4 sleeves or whatever, hey, feel free. Feel free to get in on that. Like, I don't know. I'm not a stickler, okay? Lightweight yarn, garment, layering piece, or summer top, okay? If you choose to make a racerback, Jessie May has some beautiful summer tops right now. So she's got the V-neck and the bubble top and the ripple bralette, which I really want to knit. May, y'all. She's it. So I got one of those in plans too. So anyway, I would love it if you would knit along with me. I'm going to call it the summer top knit along. I will come up with a hashtag. I'll let you know, and I will make a link for it in the Ravelry group. You can find that under Avid Knits, and I would love to see what you're making. So tell me what you plan on making. Tell me about your yarn. Swatch, take pictures. Somebody do it with me. Okay. That is it. That is all my knitting content. I feel like I've been speeding through this episode. So if I have been, I'm sorry for that. I'm not trying to get away from you. I want to spend time with you. I'm happy to be here. But yeah, I do have a little bit of acquisitions that I kind of want to share with you. Like I said, I'm not a project bag fan. I generally tend to have one or two. I have a really cute one that I'll show next time from a maker who is no longer creating, and it makes me so very sad every day, Vicky. So very sad every day. But it's a box bag that I carry my socks in. I'll show it to you next time. I really wanna share some of that stuff. She also gifted me another project bag, which was so generous and so lovely of her, and it's one of my favorites. But a girlfriend of mine in Idaho named Mariah has a company called Knitted Niceties. Let me see if I can find her business card. There it is. Okay. And so this is her business card. It's Knitted Niceties. And she's in Boise. And she is a really wonderful maker. And she makes these gorgeous little project bags. And she made me a sweater bag because I asked nicely. And it is a girl scientist. It's female scientist. So it's women in STEM. And I am a diehard science fan. Absolute diehard science fan. Had I known more about college, how to get into it, what it offered, what you could do with science, I absolutely would have been a scientist. Absolutely would have been a scientist. But life took a different path, and that's fine. That's fine. I actually, what caught me was this fabric. This is the inside fabric that she used. And it's this blue with the chemical bottles, and that actually is what caught me. And then she told me, she's like, well, I have two fabrics. Like, which one did you want? And then I saw the girls, and I had to have those instead. So she made I don't have it, my son has it. She made a very lovely little a pencil pouch, I guess, for my son. My son homeschools, and so she made a really lovely little pencil pouch for him, which was great, and he loves it. He thinks it's great. It does have a couple of pockets on the inside here. I'm sure that this isn't making any sense. You don't care. I love it when people try to show the insides of their pocket bags or the inside pockets of their bags on their podcast because it's really hard to do. Anyway, it is a box bottom bag. Like I said, it's a sweater size, so it will fit my either my lounging top or my Nexus Y. It will fit out really, really well. So yeah, I think you should go give her a look. She keeps really cute stuff in her Etsy shop, and she also, I think, does custom orders. You might want to ask her really nicely. Tell her I sent you. Okay, I got a couple of other acquisitions. I purchased this on a D-stash from the maker behind Wool & Boone. She's in Austin. So she's local to me, and she did a D-stash, and so it's, I've never worked with Plucky, ever, and everybody talks about Plucky. Why is that? So I had to have some. So this is a Plucky, and it is in, it's a 90-10 superwash merino nylon. It has 425 yards. It is in her feet base, so meant for your feet. And her 90-10 is 1,000 light years away from the Hedgehog Fiber 9010. So when I realized that what I was working with was 9010, I had already purchased this, and I was like, oh no, well, I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but this is really nice. This is beautiful stuff. The colorway is Julia Julia. It is inspired by The Wedding Singer. And yeah, so it's a blue purple, and it's super pretty. I'm really excited to work with it. We had a little bit of a snafu. She and her family went on a vacation across the country. Right when I ordered, she basically sent everything out and then left. And well, mine never got here. It never got here. I waited for probably a little over a month, and I finally texted her and was like, hey, I did this. I'm sure it just got, pushed aside. Could you look for it and see if you have it, because I've been charged for it. And if you don't have it, like maybe it got sent to somebody else, could you let me know what's going on? And she's like, I'm so sorry, we had vacation. I was like, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it. And that was the last I heard of it. And then 3.5 weeks later, I still haven't heard anything. So I texted her again and was like, hey, did we ever figure out what happened with that? And I got no reply and then the next day I got an email saying that I had a shipment on my way from her. And that's fine. I don't know, a message of, yes, I'm so sorry, I forgot about it again, or things have been crazy, it's in the mail. that would have gone a long way as opposed to just not responding to me at all. So I wasn't super thrilled with that, but it did get here. That's fine. It was very real talk, you guys, okay? So it was just thrown in a bag. There was no card, there was no business card, there was no note, there was no nothing. And considering that I waited like 2 months for you to send a skein of yarn, a total of, I don't know, 100 miles, I just feel like it could have been handled a little bit better. I totally understand that life gets in the way. I'm not mad about it. It was kind of a weird business experience, considering that they're not huge, but they're not super little either. I've heard really good things about her customer service, so I was really kind of surprised to have heard about that. Or to have had that experience, rather. And then a couple weeks later, like a couple days ago, actually, she posted up on her Instagram that her and her husband work together. They're a husband-wife team for dyeing, and apparently they're going to take a break. So I'm sure that she has a ton going on, which is fine. And she posted up a discount code and said, hey, we're just going to clear some stuff out and we're going to take a break. They're working too hard, I think. She's not feeling very inspired anymore, and she kind of wants to take a step back. Which I think is wonderful. So I did place an order with her. Everybody has a day. Maybe I was just that one. And this is going to sound really terrible. I'm always the one. When my husband died, I was the one that the military system didn't work for. Like, it didn't go the way it was supposed to. And, we go out to eat or something and mine's the one that's not right. Or I order something or I run into somebody at DFW Fiberfest I'm really excited to see, and I'm the one that catches them, like, when they're hangry and they're so tired. Like, that's when I come in, and it's always that way. Maybe it's me. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. The way that I look at it is I'm a pretty understanding person. For instance, the military thing, I wasn't a civilian spouse. Like, I was a soldier, who happened to marry another soldier, and I knew the system. I knew what it was supposed to do, and I knew when it was wrong. And I knew who to talk to when it was wrong, which I think is more powerful. So, on that. So it was a little bit of a weird experience, but I thought I'd give her another try. I'm kind of sad that they're not going to dye anymore. She has really beautiful colorways. And so when those get here, I will share this with you. I have one last acquisition. For my birthday, my husband basically gave me free reign and was like, do what you want, like, go. And so I didn't have a budget, but I'm not crazy either. Like, I realize we have bills. But we had been able to put aside some extra money, and I was able to kind of treat myself over those months. And so I bought, my goal this year is sweater quantities, but I want them in companies that I've never really gotten a chance to use or that I've looked at. So like my Yoth purchase was one of those. I bought some Tuku wool when we went to Seattle, around my birthday. Companies that everybody seems to know about that I've never really gotten to use. Companies that are not always the super popular ones, I guess. And then I ruined it because then I wanted a club. I wanted a mystery club. I've never done one. And so I thought about it, and I happened to catch the Olon update. And she put up a 3-month club. And I probably sat there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what club I was going to get. She's got the Vibrance Club and a Neutrals Club and a Naturals Club and a Singles Club, and I could not. And so she has one, it's a mix it up. And so you kind of get one from each month, which I thought was, okay, I'll do that. That's great. So my last one came in a couple days ago with this pretty packaging. Isn't that sweet? So it's this gold colored paper bag with her sticker. Says Enjoy. And I love her packaging. She does all recyclable. So I always end up with like an extra mailer, which is really convenient when you sample knit, because then I just, stick my stuff in there, reseal it, cover up the label or whatever I need to do. And I have a mailer, and I didn't have to, and it got used for, at 2 times. So that's always nice. I can always send things back that way. So I thought that I would open this on the podcast. So it's going to rustle a little bit. You'll be fine. Oh, it's not a bag. It's tissue paper. Whew. That's a really big thing of tissue paper for one skein of yarn. Anyway, it's beautiful. Oh, it's all sweet. It's all these coppers and this brown and kind of a mahogany color. There's some mauve in here. Aw, that's amazing. I'm pretty sure that the dyer behind Olon is named Jess. I could be wrong about that, but this is the colorway Canyon. It is on her single sock base. It's 100 grams, 100% superwash merino, 366 meters, which should be roughly about 400 yards. And it is hand dyed in Ireland. So I brought down my other two so that you can see those as well. So this was the very first one that I received. This is also her single sock, same exact base. So this is the colorway. Nothing. There is no colorway. I don't know the name of this colorway. It doesn't have a label, so maybe it was just a club color. But it's mauve, and it has the same kind of coppery little hints in it. It's got some black specks. It's got some plum color. It's kind of a gray. That's super pretty, and they actually go pretty well together, I think. I like that a lot. That's really nice. Okay, and then my one that I got last month was from her Vibrance one, her Vibrance section, I'm assuming, and this is her colorway Rocket. And it is also a single sock, which I'm happy about. I really like singles bases. And they take the dye so pretty. So this is reds and some peaches and some bright purples and some black speckles. There's a tiny hint of green right there. So yeah, so this was my first mystery club. And there they all are together. So there was February, March, and now April. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I did that. I really like, I really love Olon. It's just a beautiful, beautiful yarn. And I'm excited to make something with that. So I have no idea what they're going to be. They were just a mystery club that I wanted to try. And yeah, I think I have finally come to the end of all the yarn. Let's see. Let's talk about life. Can we do that? Let's talk about life. If you don't want to talk about life with me, I get that. You can go on. That's fine. Thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time. Yeah, life. Okay, so I talked about my husband changed jobs, so he changed companies, and he basically ended up sorry. I had a lot of camera problems last time, so I'm super paranoid now. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So he switched to a different company, and he's really happy about that. They have better benefits. He enjoys the workspace a little bit more. And when you work as much as he does, where you work is super important. But he took a week off, and nothing, you guys. We didn't do anything. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. He finally, probably for the first time since I've known him, relaxed. So he spent most of the first weekend asleep. He left work early on Friday. He was supposed to work the full day, but the owner's daughter, they're kind of co-owners, their father owned the shop, and then whenever he passed, it went to their mother, and the girls are both married, and they're women. Both of the women help run the administrative side of the business, and one of them, it's not the greatest company. One of them came down the stairs and went over to my husband and was like, well, I hope you know what you're doing, and that your new venture works out for you. And he was like, yeah, me too. And she was like, well, make sure it does, because you're not welcome back here again. Which was really unprofessional and really unnecessary for her to bring her happy self all the way down from the office down the stairs. It's like a flight of stairs and across the warehouse to come bother him. Okay, just kept her mouth shut. Or you could have said it like, hey, good luck with your new thing, when he was signing out of your building, or when he gave you his notice, you could have said, hey, okay, well, if you give notice now, like, we will, rehirement's not going to be an option. And he could have been like, okay, I understand that. And it could have been done professionally. But it wasn't. It was done that way. And so he told her, he was like, that's really unprofessional. And she was like, excuse me? And he was like, yeah, that was really unprofessional. And I don't really need it. And, this is probably why your company isn't doing super hot at the moment. This is why you're losing people. But that's not my problem. And so he basically packed up his stuff and came home. And he shared it with a couple of ladies in the office, the people who had to sign him out, and everybody was so flabbergasted. And I've heard a couple of stories, and I don't think everybody should be that shocked. Y'all, if you can afford to, really consider what your company is saying and what they're doing, because he shared it with a couple of people, and their answer was, man, I can't believe she said that, that's really messed up. And well, yeah, it is, but you're still here. So it wasn't that messed up, right? And I understand not everybody has the option to be like, oh no, my company's unethical, I'm leaving. But at the same time, you can job hunt while you're working places. Most fields will allow you to do that. And even if you have, an interview, especially if you can schedule all interviews on one day, I am not saying go quit your job. Okay. I totally get that. Not everybody has that ability to be like, you know what, I'm done here. But it was his last day. And so he chose to do that, and he came home. And he probably spent most of Saturday and Sunday just kind of lounging around, which was fantastic because he never does that. So that was a lot of fun. So we spent a lot of time together, and he caught up on movies that he hasn't gotten to see, and I pretty much left him alone while he did that because I'm not a giant movie fan. They ratchet up my anxiety really bad. I don't know, you guys. I was widowed, and so now, like, movies that I've never seen before, books I've never read before, like, anything really new in that sense, anything really mental, I have a really hard time with. I can't sit there for it. Like, I gotta be able to move around and kind of come back to it as I please, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not gonna fight over it. So Tuesday night, we dropped my son off at my in-laws, and we went to a wedding in Austin. On Wednesday, it was a friend of mine. They did it at their apartment. So my friend Rafa, his boyfriend came from Brazil. He got his fiancé visa finally, and so they had a really nice little ceremony in their apartment, and we sat around and we had like Brazilian appetizers, I guess. I don't really know what they were called, but they were really good. Kind of like, I guess, the version of, I don't know, like any Hispanic culture, any culture who has good hors d'oeuvres, most of them are deep fried, right? So we had that, and drank some wine and some champagne and toasted them, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed seeing them. And then we came home, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I don't really know what we did. We really just had a really chill weekend, had a really, really chill time that he was home, and that was super, super nice. Hey guys, so my camera cut off yet again. I'm going to get a different camera. I'm going to have to just take care of it, I guess, but it's going to be a little bit because equipment upgrades are expensive. So I just wanted to pop on here to share that we got back Wednesday from the wedding, and then on Thursday, I had gotten contacted after my first podcast by a woman named Sonia, and she is part of the El Rey Knits podcast, and she does a podcast with her sister-in-law, Alyssa. They're a very baby podcast, like me, and she had contacted me and asked me if I wanted to do like a knit night or something, and of course I said yes, and we ended up at a place out here called Whiskey Cake, which is exactly what it sounds like. A massive liquor menu, and a lot of farm to fork, which is really great. They do a lot of local stuff, and they really try to pull ingredients from like local ingredients, and they do a thing called a local board, which is like a local cheese board. So we split one of those, and Sonia is one of the very few women I know that really enjoys dark beer, so we had a really nice time chatting. She's pretty well traveled, and so we had a lot to talk about. I found a new scotch, and so that was a lot of fun, and she's hysterical. So I hope that next time, Alyssa can come out with us, because I didn't get to meet her this time. But really funny story, I came home and I told my husband about the scotch, and then the next thing I knew on Friday, we had a babysitter and a date night, and we were going back to Whiskey Cake. So I got to go 2 days in a row. We did not have the same waiter, luckily, although there was a server who walked by and told me it was nice to see me again. This is also the same young man who, when he delivered my scotch flight while I was with Sonia, told me that he didn't peg me as a scotch drinker. And okay, that's cool. So whenever I asked him to explain to me what the flight said, he was like, well, I'm not a Scotch fan. And I said, oh, of course you're not. Petty. Anyway. So that's what happened this weekend. And then we really did just relax for the rest of the weekend. We had a little bit of a impromptu kind of cookout for the Easter thing. I don't particularly celebrate. Our family doesn't really celebrate, but everybody, not everybody, we got together with my sister-in-law. She did an inflatable water slide type thing for the kids, and we spent a couple hours there, and then we came home and finished out my husband's vacation, really chilled and really relaxed so that he could get going on Monday again. So anyway, it's been a really good week so far. It's super gray and cloudy and stormy, and I absolutely love it. And so I guess that I am going to sign off. I'll let you guys go, okay? So I will hopefully see you next week. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Do knit-alongs with me, okay? And I will put up hashtag information and everything on Instagram. And yeah, hopefully I'll get the camera situation sorted out, and these first 3 or 4 episodes will be the last time that you have to deal with all these random cut-ins. Thanks so much. You guys have a good night. Bye.